For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson. Over the weekend, Ball Alert would tell its followers that the popular radio show The Breakfast Club is expected to be dropped from Power's 105.3 lineup in Atlanta. Now, the post would end up gaining traction over the last few days, which would cause one of the show's co-hosts, Charlamagne the God, to address the rumors on Monday's episode. During the show, Charlamagne would inform viewers that when he saw the news, he contacted the corporate offices and didn't receive anything back. Co-hosts DJ Envy and Jess Hilarious would also confirm that they haven't heard any information confirming or denying the news themselves. For this reason, Charlamagne would give Atlanta 105.3 Donkey of the Day. He would go on to call Atlanta's lack of communication unprofessional and says he's matching the same unprofessional energy by calling the executives out live on air. Today, we're joined by our very own John Abba to talk about the shocking news coming from Atlanta's biggest radio stations. But first, let's take a look at this clip.
On Friday, I saw this pop up on Baller Alert, and they use this very pixelated picture of us. It says, sources confirm the Breakfast Club to be dropped from 105.3 FM's lineup in Atlanta. And I've been asking about this a little bit this weekend, and I ain't getting no answers. You get any answers, Davey?
I did not.
I didn't even ask. I was too scared. I thought it was because I couldn't read.
I've been trying to figure out what's up with this all weekend. When y'all got questions, we got answers. So how come now that I got some questions, nobody is replying? I'm matching unprofessional energy this morning. You don't like how I'm handling this. I don't like how y'all handling us.
Well, first and foremost, thank you, John, for joining me to talk about this.
Yeah.
A lot of layers, which it seems when you come on, we have a lot of layers. So I'm glad to hop into this. Let's go to the initial news when it was broke by Baller Alert. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw it as soon as it got posted. We're covering stuff every day here on our platform. So that was one of the things that came through. And honestly, I wasn't surprised seeing that. There's been conversations just within like the space of YouTube and different, like especially that comment section with that particular post, saying like the Breakfast Club, they're not the same, they fell off. Like I started seeing a lot of that. And it's been kind of like flustering around for like the last few months. So I wasn't surprised if that is a true thing that did happen. It just made me think about even our position of just like, how do you kind of keep things moving forward when you reach certain heights? But yeah.
Absolutely. Now, I want to get you to expand on that just a little bit. But, speaking of comments, I want to read some of those. So here's some from the comment sections. It says, there will be more cancellations if they keep promoting Trump and giving Candace a platform. Another user said, people in the comments are acting like this means the show is over. Atlanta is one location. They're syndicated all over the country. I'll read one more. Another user said, they need someone who actually reads the author's book, understands political issues, and ain't beefing with hood rats on IG all day. Where's the culture for the culture? TF. If this is true, if you kind of expand on like why aren't you surprised? Why do you think this is happening past just the comment?
I mean, it's like multiple things.
Yeah.
Multiple things. I think it can go all the way to where Charlamagne was with Tommy Lauren, the conservative Republican, that she was like super big. And, he's supposed to be kind of an advocate in our voice. So the optics at times just look bad. It kind of starts making people be like, well, damn, can I really get behind this guy? Because he's with somebody that could be, hurting us. And I think you start seeing that. Then, of course, Angela Yee leaves. Now, people have their criticism about Angela Yee, but there obviously was some type of chemistry that they created. You put in someone like Jess Hilarious, who in her own right is still growing. Jess is very young in the game. She still has the opportunity to grow, but doesn't match an industry veteran like Angela Yee. You have that as a factor. You have just moments where I think the audience feels like, can I trust this platform to really ride for us? And I think a lot of that energy sometimes is, behind Charlamagne, because he is like the strongest voice, in my opinion, there. And people are watching his moves, and sometimes his moves don't always seem like it's favorable for his listeners. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'll add, and I even saw comments talk about, even the trust factor with DJ Envy and everything that we saw kind of play out. I know we talked about it as well. For me, I am surprised by seeing it, so I have to disagree just a little bit. Now, while I do understand the comments are always questioning, Charlamagne the God, especially when we talk about a political view, but I would challenge our people to instead of questioning him, like we should be questioning why is the Republicans using him as a coy? Because what they do is they take bits and pieces of what he says and uses it to like, oh, hey, here's a black man who's saying, you know, I don't like Biden.
Right.
When I hear Charlamagne talk about political views, it's challenging us to not be so married to, you know, being a Democrat because that's what we were taught. So I think sometimes our community, we get stuck in our ways and we get stuck on what we were taught since we were young.
Do you think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
You think Charlamagne's a smart, intelligent man?
I would say so, yeah.
I think so too.
Absolutely.
So in that, I think he needs to be able to do a better job. If he's really saying, hey, I'm really trying to lead our people, he should be aware of how things can be perceived
right.
at this point in the game because he's been in media for so long.
Which I would say he does, though. Because the thing is, people aren't taking him from, oh, hey, I listened to a full podcast of just Charlamagne. They're taking the clips that I saw. He can't control what someone else does. You know, people, we see people manipulate clips all the time.
Walking with Tomi Lahren, you would have done that?
If I'm having it just depends. That's like, for example, you know, I love Killer Mike. When Killer Mike went down and talked to the governor, people took that as, oh, you're going to go talk to the enemy.
Right.
But we've also had conversations of, if I don't know what's happening on the other side, like going to get information, I personally don't see anything wrong with that. Now, if you're out here like, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know, I love this person. I'm seeing these things actually come out of your mouth, but I'm not going to take a picture or take a photo or take a headline. I'm more about, okay, what are the details of this? Why were you with this person?
Right.
What was the reason of this conversation? Whereas a lot of people I feel get mad at a headline and don't take the time to read. Our people have to take responsibility and accountability to say, you know, I'm not just going to take this headline for a headline. I'm not just going to take this picture for a picture. I'm going to actually do my own research, which we talk about here all the time. Like that's why we're so big on the stories that we tell. Like giving you the information is important, but people got to also take accountability, go and get the information themselves.
I think the biggest thing that kind of like, you know, struck a nerve with me is like, you know, Dame was right. Like Dame Dash.
He was on our platform too.
Yeah, Dame Dash was trying to give, I guess, some insight of how this game goes.
Yeah.
Which is they don't care how much you make them.
Yeah.
They still, when you no longer make them, and I have a Damon Wilson interview coming up, when you no longer of service for them the way that they needed you, thank you for your time. And as you can see how they treating the host at the Breakfast Club is a great indication of like how the game goes.
I'm telling you, I'm telling you why. I'm telling you why. Question. Let me answer your question.
I'm listening.
Can you give it to your son?
Whatever you
Shares
working
of this
for.
company, I absolutely positively can.
How?
Why? Because I own shares of this company.
You bought them?
Yes.
Can your son eat? Is this yours to give the whole company
This
to
full
your
company is
I'm
not
asking
my son's. No.
Listen, that's
I'm
not my
listening.
question. If your son needs a job here, can you give it to him? If your son needs to get some money out the bank from here, some cash flow, can he get it?
No.
All right, you don't own this.
But I can take the money from here to invest in myself.
No, it's not yours. I'm not gonna fight for something I don't own.
Wait, you took the money from Def Jam?
I didn't take it. Stop. Don't say you're
come
speaking
to
my
work because I
business and you
enjoy
don't
it.
know what you're talking about.
And I think that's like disheartening to see that, to be honest, because it's like, man, Charlamagne gave a lot of energy, you know, not saying as if they're about to go out of business, but more so saying that, you know, Charlamagne gave a lot of his time and power to building up that platform. And so the fact to hear that like he can't get a call back after he made y'all all this money is kind of like, that don't make sense, and that was kind of like whack to hear that. What was your reaction?
Same thing. It reminds me of corporate, where you know when I was working in corporate, it's always standard to give your 2 weeks notice before you quit, but then they can come in and fire you right away or get rid of you. So they'll, you know, you can help build them up, and they kind of want a heads up, but there's no heads up for you. So when I saw it, it was very disheartening. It was like that's whack. And even seeing Charlamagne, I was actually interested to get your thoughts on this, which is why I'm glad you joined. First, I want to get what are your thoughts on seeing Charlamagne kind of, as he says, matching that unprofessional energy? Because I have a question for you, just to put it in perspective.
I'm corporate in our space.
Yeah.
I'm the corporate person. So there's like two feelings. There's one of that deals with like I get it, but I also want to hold Charlamagne accountable as you are in a leadership position. So sometimes you kind of have to show like I'm going to be the bigger person. That's typically what leaders do. You can't be as petty as you want to, because sometimes I want to be real petty, but I can't because I'm a lead. But at the same time, I also understood it from an emotional standpoint. And I'm being big right now about talking about how do we conquer our emotions in the realm of business, because I do think sometimes, which is the realest game, is like those emotional moments will be the things that really hurt you, because we don't know what's going to happen now, right? Now he leaves himself up for vulnerability. They were giggling and laughing, but what if someone at iHeart or whoever their employer is like, yo, I didn't appreciate my talent, who I've, invested in to put me out there to make me look bad in front of my sponsors.
Yeah.
Now those relationships are messed up. Now I'm looking at him as a liability and not an asset. So I think, yes, I feel the emotion, but you never know what's going to happen with their employees if they feel they were really offended by them airing them out like that on their own, on their platform.
Yeah, I mean, I do get that, but I will say in this, I think we see too often where it's like we do play the bigger person and we're the ones that get hurt the most in the end, and there's no coverage on that. Like let's say, they get low and let go in the Atlanta market. Let's say it is true.
Yeah.
Because, they haven't confirmed or denied, but they kind of be the bigger person, not say anything on air, which people are curious anyway. Well, I know when I saw it come across, I'm like, well, what's going on? I'm not hearing from Charlamagne. I'm not hearing from Jess. I'm not hearing from Envy. And I was very interested to hear from them. So I'm not completely mad at it because I feel like if they would have kept quiet and then kind of just got swept under the rug and swept out, those executives would have been able to keep doing that. But when you call them out, it's like, oh, hey, I tried to contact you. You're not doing your part.
They're going to get a response.
Yeah, you're not holding up your end. So if it's embarrassing for your sponsors, then you should probably change the way that you do business with me. You should, and which they know who they have. They know they know Charlamagne, they know Jess, like they're gonna speak out.
But there's other factors too, like there's always like when you work up that high, there's like a chain of communication.
Of course,
it's not just like how we're a smaller organization. So most of the times y'all just want to run. If y'all get it to me, then there's an answer. A lot of times it's like an answer after another answer
to
after
somebody.
another answer.
Yeah.
So you never know how long that was just kind of taking. Especially he said he looked at it over the weekend.
Yeah.
Like people clocked out their emails, no response. I think, to be honest, this is my vantage point.
Yeah.
There might be some vulnerability happening with them as a company, with the Breakfast Club, that I think is only right. And if Charlamagne is not getting the certain energy that he might have once did, that kind of triggers you too.
I feel that.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like at one point when they was like on fire, Charlamagne probably knew he can get off an email during the weekend. In this case, they may not be moving with the same mobility, so it's kind of like, okay, I'm gonna get back to you at the end of when it's at the top of the week.
Yeah.
And he might be feeling like, damn, like I don't know what's going on, because even when they brought on kind of closing, when they brought on Just Hilarious, that whole process, like you just said, was a little bit like uncertain. And they seem, Charlamagne told TMZ, like I don't know what's going on.
Right.
And I think someone that big of a star for an organization should definitely be informed of what's going on. That's just how I would do it. I think Charlamagne needs to really figure out what he is trying to do in that position, because it just seems like there's a point when you reach a certain height and you start to plateau when you're not really doing anything differently than what you once did.
You don't think Charlamagne is?
I think the Breakfast Club as a whole, it's just like, okay, is this it? Like, is this it? Like, is this it? Like, does it, like, have you all mobilized any marches? Like, if y'all trying to be like the platform for the culture, like, when are y'all gonna maybe show that,
Well, but I kind of think like how Dame Dash, like they don't own the Breakfast Club. So their way of doing that is through conversation. But I feel like individually, especially when we're talking about, I'm Jess Hilarious a little different. She's new to the platform, so and DJ Envy will hold off just because of all the allegations and things. But when we talk about Charlamagne the God and what he's actually doing in the community, like he is involved in the community. But they don't own the Breakfast Club to say, hey, we're gonna take it. But that's like Dame Dash was kind of telling them, like, hey, y'all need to have y'all own situation so you can have that ownership and things like that. But they don't.
I think that's where the audience is more so becoming aware of these things. Like, again, to me, I'm putting a lot of focus on Charlamagne because I think, in my opinion, he is the face of the Breakfast Club.
Right.
Like, no knock to Envy. I don't know you. No knock to Jess. But if you rotate that cast out and kept Charlamagne there, it's still the Breakfast Club to me.
Right.
Right? And I think with Charlamagne, he's kind of put himself in a position where also he's a little bit everywhere now. He's still got his Brilliant Idiot podcast. He still is on the Daily Show. So for me, his brand has been Black Effect, and he's doing different things. To me, his brand has watered down in the sense of you can catch him other places now. I don't need to just go to the Breakfast Club like I once did. So I just think that the Breakfast Club as an entity, they do have to think about like how do we keep the audience exciting? Like that's the pressure that I face here on platform.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like people still get excited for the Breakfast Club. I can't say I feel like it's like, oh, you know, it's, or even Charlamagne, I don't think Charlamagne's watered down in the sense of, even though he is many places, because, you know, you have people in many places, it's like I'm getting the same thing in these different places, but you're not getting the same Charlamagne in every place. The same conversation that you're going to have on the Breakfast Club, you may not see that on the Daily Show. You know, with Black Effects podcast, that's a network of different people and podcasts, just giving people that opportunity with, I think it's with iHeartRadio. So, you know, being able to see him in different places, I would still go to the Breakfast Club to listen to Charlamagne.
Yeah, and we still very much would take an interview at the Breakfast Club too.
For sure, yeah.
So
I mean, I'm a fan.
So I don't want to like, I think that it just comes with the pressure of being the number one guy.
Yeah.
The top brand. And for me, as another outlet, I want to see, how do you scale up? How do you continue to scale? I admire Jordan for winning those 6 rings. You know, like what was his mentality to do that over and over again? It might have felt good in the moment, but I think it exposed more so of, it backfired to me.
In what way?
Because it exposed that we can't really ride with you as a company, or we can't really ride with your entity as a people, because motherfuckers won't even respond back to you that employ you. So how can I like it brought that into full transparency of like, you're not even in control of something that you built. So how can we as a people depend on you to lead us to the promised land if that's the goal? Which is why I think independent media is important. Self-ownership is important, so that when we deal with these corporates and these corporates don't look like us majority of the time, that we'll still be able to have a voice and that we still own like our worth. And I think Charlamagne doing that, as we talk through it, I'm like, damn, it kind of just showed that you have no say, you have no ownership over like the place that you built.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I would go that far to say, because I wouldn't say that Charlamagne is responsible for getting us to a promised land. But when it comes to like, why do I think our people should ride for him? Like, this is even more reason why we should, is because we're a place where you've built and helped and established. Because the thing is, everybody can't have an independent station. You know what I'm saying? Like,
we could start different stuff. I mean,
and
I look
he
at what
has
we do here.
Black Effect, and you know that's who knows where
that's
he
in
wants to take
relation with
that.
iHeartMedia.
But who knows where that's gonna go? But it's just the fact of like, if I'm gonna ride with you, like, you know what, cool. If they treat you this way, that's even more reason for me to stand behind you, brother. Instead of me saying like, oh, corporate not riding with you, man, I can't rock with you, my brother. Like, that to me seems counterproductive. It doesn't make sense for me to say, oh, because you don't own iHeartRadio or you don't own the Breakfast Club and they're treating you wrong, I'm gonna also walk away from you. If anything, I'm gonna say, okay, wherever you go, I go. So if they end up firing you from Breakfast Club, I'm not listening to the new Breakfast Club or the new whatever. I feel like our people need to do that, as opposed to writing off our people so quick and being so quick to say, oh, I can't trust you, Charlamagne, anymore because of what corporate is doing, as opposed to redirecting and saying, I'm not trusting the entity. So if they drop you or if you leave or whatever, then they're not getting my viewership.
I think that's so.
That'd be more impactful.
So to make sure that, you know, I'm trying to be as clear as possible, is I think that shows, because there's 2 dynamics, right, in the entertainment industry. There's like an independent party, and there's like a picked party, like you know, more of a corporate. And I think Charlamagne has seen himself play within the corporate realm. Like if you look at his Instagram, he's shouting out all these people. He's using, and what I'm trying to say is, I think over the years he's been confusing his core audience, which is, hey, it's supposed to be, I'm gonna call these white people the C word, you know, rhymes with actor. I'm gonna use that all day, but I'm also gonna show you, I'm gonna take pictures with them too. It's like, like you're confusing me as a consumer. I'm saying you're confusing me. So I'm not saying I'm abandoning you. It's just like, are we pro us, or are we like pro us when it's convenient, and then it's time to like, I'm gonna do it. The Tommy Lauren thing was his Steve Harvey linking up with Trump moment. Like, if you supposed to be for the people, I'm not gonna give you no optics that's gonna make it be misunderstood, or I'm gonna be able to articulate myself on why I'm standing next to her.
But people still wouldn't. You can literally say beforehand, hey, I'm going to sit down with, and I'll just use Trump because you mentioned him. I'm going to go sit down with Trump because I want to challenge him on XYZ. They see that the week before. The week they take a picture, that's already gone. Because this is now they're running with
I
this in
think
the
it goes
headline.
back to
So
Dick Gregory saying these entertainers are not going to be the ones that lead us.
Correct, and that's exactly what I was about to say. If anybody is solely depending on a Charlamagne the God, any figure, you're like that's on you. That's not on a Charlamagne. That's not on anybody else that's being put in these positions to speak their piece on it. At the end of the day, you as a consumer have to make a decision for yourself. You can't depend on anybody. You can't feel like, oh, I'm putting all my, because that is a man. That is a human being who's going to make mistakes, who's going to not get it right sometimes. And if you're depending on another human, then that's on you at the end of the day.
That's the world we live in. People need leadership. People want leadership too. I think our community needs leadership, which is why I'm kind of like giving a bit more pushback here, because I think Charlamagne is in a position where he can really, really, really be more impactful than he has. Not saying he hasn't been impactful. I think the mental health awareness thing that he pushed was dope. It was great on his end because I understand how mental health is needed in our community. I just think that I'm kind of like saying, don't lose focus. If your intensity is to help our people, don't get caught up by these corporate people wanting to take pictures with you. Don't get caught up by like really be about the people. And I think to wrap it up, what Dame said is that at the end of the day, it's important that we own our entities, that we own as much of ourselves as we can, because as you can see, motherfuckers will not hit you back on the email if they feel that you are not that valuable to them.
Yeah, well, I'll say definitely I'm proud of what they're doing over there at the Breakfast Club when it comes to Charlamagne the God. Like I love that as a people. Obviously, I hope 105.3 from Atlanta, because I want to be very specific. That's who they were talking to. That's who they gave Donkey of the Day. I hope they do respond, and I hope it's not true that they're no longer going to be airing in Atlanta, but I think we'll kind of see how that unfolds and things like that. But yeah, for me, I don't think, I think our people, we have a lot of work to do. At the end of the day, I just think our people have a lot of, because the mentality that we have, how quick we are to write off people, how quick we are to
I'm
be
not
like,
writing off Charlamagne.
Oh, no, not you. I'm looking at the comments and just people.
Oh, just those comments?
Yeah, just the comments and how people are like, it's a wishy-washy, because one day you're for somebody, the next day you're not for them. And it's like, as a people, we have to come together. And yes, we need leadership, but at the end of the day, we also need to figure out our core. If everybody focus on their local communities instead of trying to focus on Charlamagne, who's not, in your market or, not in your community, if you focus on what's going on around you and actually get involved in your community, we would be so much better as a collective, as opposed to staring at celebrities and stars to figure it out. Like, oh, I'm waiting for you to lead me. Like, no, do the work. There are leaders in your community that are literally putting in the footwork on the ground that you could go link arms with instead of trying to focus on somebody that has a bigger platform. So, as I mentioned earlier before, Hugo, I do want to talk about the things that we have going on here, because when we talk about people getting involved locally, us being here in Atlanta, of, Atlanta, what are some ways that people can get involved in what we have going on?
Wow. We have so many great things coming on. I'm going to hold off on one major announcement, but I'm going to talk about more so what we've been working on in terms of content today and throughout the week. Damon Wilson is back. Damon Wilson is back. As y'all saw the first time, Damon really laid it on me, and he continues to lay that on me in terms of like the conversation. He's not holding back. The first clip is going to go out later today after you guys watch this. But yeah, that's happening. And like I said, we have a really, really, really special announcement that's coming. I think I did a slight tease. You'll see it in the Damon Wilson interview.
Okay.
You'll see something. And I want to shout out to 85 South and Jack Thriller for having me on their platform.
That's dope. How was that?
That was dope because, I kind of kept it real with them about us working together in transparency. I thought that we should be trying to work together a lot more, given that we're all in Atlanta, and not trying to force a relationship, because that's a relationship that we've had. There were some bumps along the way, but I just wanted to kind of put that out there, like, that was what I talked about on the platform. So this isn't me airing out something new. This is what I discussed there.
Yeah.
And I think that, hopefully they know that the door is open here with us, because I think there's ways for us to be strategic about growing, because as you can see, we are all we got for real. Who said that, by the way? We all we got.
Me.
That's not yours. I think that's Master P. But I'm just saying, like, in reality, when you have like these independent entities, we at least need to be able to say, like, hey, let's go get food together.
Yeah.
Versus just like being standoffish or not really knocking on each other's door. Because as you can see, these corporations, this is how they do it. We got an office right by, and don't be weird, but we shout out the address all the time.
We do.
By Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I go over there and I'm seeing all these entities like and working together. First is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, right next to the Home Depot lot or whatever it's called, and then so you see, and then there's a Hilton, I think, right on top of that.
It's new.
The Signia. So you seeing how these other people play.
Yeah.
Not saying we gotta play like other people play, but I'm just saying I think that is really the true essence of business. It's supposed to be collaborative.
Yeah.
So when our people be like, back up, I got my shit, you got yours, I think that puts us all in a vulnerable position.
Yeah.
That allows someone to either buy us out, take us out the game, versus us linking up and being strong. So with that being said, 85, salute to y'all, what y'all doing. And if we want to continue to see, what else is to come and our doors is open, that's kind of what I spoke about,
Yeah, well, I'm definitely excited to see that interview. Definitely excited to see Damon Wilson because y'all two together are hilarious.
Yeah, man, he's not, man, Damon. It's so much love for him.
Yeah.
And hopefully it reads that way. It's just supposed to be like, old school to the new school generation out of love.
Yeah.
And it's it's a good time.
Well, I'm definitely excited for people to see what we have coming up. I know we can't say much now, but thank you so much for joining me in on this topic. You heard from us. Now we want to hear from you in the comments below. What are your reactions to Charlamagne the God calling out radio station 105.3 The Beat in Atlanta? For Comedy Hype News, I'm Symphony Thompson.
Hey y'all, it's Serenity, and I am so excited to let y'all know that the Real Tea Podcast has a new home. That's right, the Real Tea Podcast is gonna be hosted out of the Hyper Clubhouse, and we are gonna be sitting here sipping our Brooklyn tea with their open bar. Yeah, an open tea bar. Come on now, bring your favorite mugs. You really wanna be in the room to talk real estate, real life, and work life, and how we balance it at all times being Black and brown in this industry. And if you want a really elevated experience, join us in the Ha Ha Hemp Lounge for the final hour of the live recording of Real Tea. Did I mention my girl Nia Lene will be co-hosting? Can't wait to see y'all. Remember, it's April 28th at the Hyper Clubhouse, and we are gonna have the tea, the real tea, sipping something sensational with Brooklyn tea. We need you here. Come sip some tea.